Hello, everyone. Welcome to In Full View, focusing on trans masks in media, the podcast, where we shine a light on the lack of trans masculine representation in entertainment. We're your hosts, Avi Roque,
And Yas Madeiras Kasiri.
and our guest today is Brian Michael Smith. A little bit about Brian, the first openly trans Black man on network television and the first openly trans man to make People magazine's Sexiest Men Alive, not just once, but twice. Brian, for listeners who may not be familiar with your work and who you are, tell us about yourself, your acting background, booking Paul Strickland, but really anything that you feel on your heart is something you're like, I need to share this right now.
Well, thank you so much for this warm welcome and just for creating this space. I mean, growing up in the 80s and 90s and feeling like I was the only person who was ever like me, or that I would never be able to see anyone like me in the things that I love, like TV and films, to now be on a podcast with, two amazing trans masculine people talking about trans masculine representation in media is wonderful. So I really appreciate you for just creating this space and for having these conversations and having me as a guest.
Oh yeah, of course. It's been a crazy journey to get here. For listeners who may not know, Brian was actually one of our panelists at San Diego Comic-Con. So thank you again for bringing your voice to the conversation. Because I always love what you have to say. It's always so impactful. But yeah, as Avi was saying, for people who may not be familiar with you, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Brian Michael Smith. I am an actor from Ann Arbor, Michigan, by way of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, by way of New York. Now I live in Los Angeles. Just a kid who always wanted to tell stories. I was a class clown. I love to entertain people, and I feel like the best way to connect and to find understanding and community is through storytelling and through performance. So whether it was through athletics or whether it was, on the stage, I just felt like I want to continue to pour out all the things that I come in contact with and discover. I just feel like I'm a conduit in that way. And I just been trying to find my way, to do that and reach as many people as I can. So, I went to Kent State University on a track and field scholarship. I was a thrower. I learned mastery through that, and I wanted to apply that same level of mastery to acting. And I just wasn't sure how I was going to do that, just because, I'm like, there's no roles for anyone like me, and I don't think I can play girl roles. So you know what I'll do? I'll learn on film programming, and I'll learn how to make my own stuff, and I'll just Oprah the whole situation and create my own network and make my own stuff.
Oh,
And
that's
then
incredible.
yeah, so in doing that, I ended up teaching media literacy and working with young people, teaching them to follow their dreams. It took me to New York to the LGBT Center in Manhattan, and I was working with young people there, and using drama and media literacy to sort of teach them how to use their stories, learn these skills, and to never let anybody bump them off their path. And I realized, hey, I think I got bumped off my path. I'm not acting, and I really want to act and I really want to perform, and I'm doing all this acting adjacent work, but I never really fully committed to it for all the various reasons. And so in 2011, I was like, I want to really commit to this because I just feel like this is something I'm meant to do, and I never really honored it. So I started training at the William Esper Studio. I really learned the craft of acting, and then I just felt like I want to keep going, from there. So I did a bunch of commercials. I did basement, black box, off Broadway theater. I did improv, I did sketch comedy, I did stand-up comedy, commercials and infomercials, background work, featured extra work, co-star work, to now work my way into television, doing guest work, recurring work, and then I got up to be a series regular on 911 Lone Star. So some roles you might know me for from that journey might be from Girls on HBO. I had one of my first speaking roles on that. My big breakout role was in Queen Sugar, Ava DuVernay's Queen Sugar, where I played Twan. I was on the L Word Generation Q for the first season, and most recently I was playing Paul Strickland on 911 Lone Star for 5 seasons. So there's a lot of theater in there too, just mixed in it, but it's just as much acting as I could do, as much performing, to better myself as an artist. That's kind of what I've been doing for the past 15, 20 years.
Wow, yeah, I had no idea that you had the whole. I know you're producing your own work right now and making content, but I didn't realize that was kind of actually some of your foundation. And I also think it's really I love the term getting bumped off your path because it not in a obviously oh, that's a great thing, but that's that term because I feel like I really resonate with that too, where it's just kind of like, oh, well, I guess there's no space for me in the industry. So, like, why bother? But something I think is really interesting about that is on the panel, I think you told a story about how specifically you kind of manifested the role of Paul. Do you mind talking, like, telling that story?
Yeah, I feel like somewhere in the journey, I was, just I started out just very much. I just want to act, which is fine. It was like me honoring this thing that was the time. I just want to act. Doesn't matter. I'll take anything that comes my way. And I realized like there's some truth in that, but that wasn't the whole truth, right? And so I was manifesting that, like I was acting, like I was in a class, I was acting. I could, go act for free, and I realized like there's other elements to this that I'm not honoring. So let's get specific. What do you really want? What are you really calling towards? Like I want to act in front of audiences. I want my work to reach more people. So, and then I also want to do, I like theater, but it's like I really want to be in TV, and I really like these kinds of shows, and I really like these kinds of characters. So it's like, okay, well, be specific and go towards that. If you feel like you've had a lot of input from, procedurals, and you really want to be one of these characters on these procedurals, these like cop shows, in New York and whatnot, then that's what you want to do. Then honor that. You really like Orange is the New Black. Okay. What kind of character could you play on Orange is the New Black? That would be a regular. Okay. A security guard. So you want to be a cop. Okay. So what's the best way to let the people who make the decisions about that know that you can play a cop? Go do some background work as a cop. Be a cop. Get pictures of you in a cop. Walk around for 14 hours a day. Get paid for it. Acting as a cop. And then once you have pictures of you being a cop, why don't you take that to the casting director with your resume, and then, give that to them? So I ended up doing that. I took it to the casting director's office, who was casting Orange is the New Black, but they were also casting girls. And they're like, you got to accepting headshots. Like, yeah, I gave it to them. And I was, my aim was for Orange is the New Black, but I ended up getting a role on Girls. So that was like, okay, great. So I realized kind of in that phase that you have to be really specific, and then you have to take action. Once you get really clear on the goal, then you have to honor that by like taking direct action in the direction of that thing. So even if it's a small action, just do something. Even if it seems completely like a far removed step, like a background work is, can kind of poo-pooed and frowned upon, but it's like it's going to do a lot of the things I said. I'm going to get paid. I will be acting. I will be having images of myself. I will be getting practice being a cop. So, all these things sort of lined up in that way. And so I kind of was,
And set experience
of
too, like
course,
experience being on a set and in
with
that
without
environment.
the stakes of the role or anything like that, because you're on, as a background person, it's like as long as you don't like steal focus, you're fine. So I could pay attention to what was happening. It was like on set school for me, and it was great, and it also contributed to me being able to book that role, and like with the domino effect. And so I've been following that path where it's like, what do I really want? What do I really want? Because I lied to myself about it, and I realized I'm lying to myself about things. I say like it happened. I'm like, I really just want to act. I want to be in these particular shows, which was true. And then I kept going. I want to, work on the West Coast, and it's like, and I ended up booking a play in Portland, Oregon. It was great, but
Yes,
it was on the
which, by
West
the way,
Coast. Oh, you did the same play. Yeah,
aside,
you did it
we
too.
did the
Yeah,
same
yeah, yeah. Yes,
play,
yes.
yes,
It was a
Tiny
wonderful, wonderful play.
Was it The
no,
Tiny
Inheritance?
Beautiful Things.
Tiny Beautiful
hmm
Things, yeah.
Wonderful play. I mean, it was a wonderful experience. I was getting it really, it checked a lot of the things that I had set that I wanted to do. I was getting paid to act. I was doing live acting for an audience. It was really good character work. It was a play that had resonance for me. It really meant something to me. So it was checking that off, but it was like, and it was on the West Coast, but it's like, you don't
Yeah.
actually just want to work on the West Coast. Where do you want to be? And it's like, I want to be in Los Angeles. I want to work. A lot of the people that are doing the kinds of things that I want to do, a lot of
Right.
the TV and the film
Yeah.
stuff that I want to do, that's in Los Angeles. So it's like, write that down and write down specifically what you want. So I wrote down specifically, yes,
Right. That specificity.
get
You said West
specific,
Coast.
Brian,
You got
because
to
you
the
will
West Coast, but not
manifest
where
it. So
you
I was like,
wanted to be.
okay. So
Yeah.
I wrote down, and I don't have it with me right now, but I basically wrote down I want to work as a series regular on a show that shoots in Los Angeles, where I'm playing a trans masculine character amongst some stars, where I can really learn from them and grow, but I hold my own, with my craft work, and that was pretty much what I said. And then I worked in Camp Lost Boys. They flew me out somewhere. I don't even know how I'm gonna get out there to, I gotta try to save the money. There's not much to save. And then Rocco Kayadas reached out to me about doing a chat at Camp Lost Boys, which was going to be held a few hours outside of Los Angeles. And like, as part of your thing, we'll do the ticket for you. And I was like, great. And as I was booking the ticket, I was like, how about I just book the return flight for like way later and just hang out in LA
Ooh.
and learn the lay of the land and, figure some stuff out. So I'll be there from April to June of 2019, and I'll like check out neighborhoods and I'll just kind of learn because I know how to get around and how to work the industry in New York and how to be an actor there, but I don't know how you get around in Los Angeles. I just don't know that much about it. I really want to be there. I just need to put myself there. And here's the opportunity. And it was a big risk, but I was like, I'm going to do it. And I just hit up anybody who ever said, hey, if you're ever in LA, look me up. I was like, well, I'm going to be in LA. I'm looking you up. And I'm so really fortunate that a lot of friends were like, yeah, you can stay here for 2 weeks and stay here for 3 weeks. So I just kind of had this loose plan that was really aligned with what I really wanted. And I just said, I'm just going to put myself there. And I did. And like as soon as I came back from the mountains with Camp Lost Boys, I had an email about this audition for the L Word. So so it worked out. And because I was there, like I didn't have to worry about the flight. I didn't have to send in a tape. It was like, and I had days to prepare. And it wasn't me being overwhelmed or
Mm.
consumed with like, how am I supposed to get to LA? And like I'm in the, it was like, no, it's already there. And my feet were on the ground. My head was kind of on straight. So I was able to just
Yes.
be there. So that was great. And so I'm working on the L Word. It was wonderful. It was a great experience. It's a recurring role, and I'm like enjoying it. But it still had that like feeling like something about this isn't quite. And so I was sitting with Alex Schmitter, and he was like, Brian, what's going on? I was like, how's it going? It's going great, but I just feel like, I don't know. I want more. I want to be able to really like I like about theater is you spend a lot of time with the character and you get to really develop and there's like a rehearsal process. And you don't really get that in TV unless you're a series regular.
Mm.
And it's like I really want to be a series regular on something where I can kind of be centered in the story. I really get to grow a character over time, and I'm working, and and I'm able to stay here, and it's all kind of stuff. And and I'm physical. Like the character I'm playing on the L Word is he's mental, he's projecting a lot, but he's buttoned up and I'm a physical guy, and I want to like play a physical role. And I love procedurals.
Mm.
So what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be like on a procedure, like a cop show. Like, I love the Chicago shows and like this, that, and the third. And I want to be physical, and I want to play another trans masculine character who's like a physical guy, serious regular, and this, that, and third. And like as soon as I stopped saying it to him, ding, I got an email from my agent like audition for 911 spinoff. I'm like, there's a 911 spinoff. The
Oh my
character is trans.
goodness. Oh.
What? We screamed in each other's face. We're like, "Oh
Oh.
my god!" Like it was incredible. So, I mean, it really, 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 really showed me the power of like
Oh, yeah.
alignment and manifestation, and like don't lie to yourself, which
Mm.
we're conditioned to do,
Yes.
right? It's a protective thing. It's like don't say what you really want because you're going to
Yeah.
meet all this resistance to it,
Mm.
and I'm like like knowing when I was a child, like, how much trouble I would get into when I expressed, hey, I think I'm a boy. I want to be a boy. I want these clothes, and just how much trouble I was met with. So I just developed this defense mechanism of like just really hiding my true desires or like moving them off to the side because it's like I'm not supposed to. If I really want it really bad, I'm not supposed to. And so
Right. That
really, yeah, so
conditioning.
like really
Yeah.
working against that and using these tools like right, being specific, saying exactly what you want, taking one small step in that direction every day to make it happen, tracking my progress. Because there'll be days where you feel like nothing's happening. Here's me as another day doing the background work and nothing has changed. But it's like if you really track what you did today, you can see that there has been progress. You did that workshop with that casting director, and even though they didn't necessarily call you back the next day, it's like you got a call back, a call in from them, months later for a role that's so right for you, you know? So it's just little things like that.
Yeah, I think it's so like, for me, just personally hearing this is such a great reminder because 'cause I've actually been struggling with that as myself since I transitioned, like, 4 years ago. I've been like, "What's my type? Where do I fit in? Who can I play?" And, obviously, like, no one can really tell you your type, and I also think people don't wanna tell a trans person who to be either, that they're like, "This is your journey," and I'm like, "Okay, but what does it mean?" And, I recently did a session just digging into myself, and I was kind of in that point too, where I'm like, if I can just make, like, a little web series, I'd be happy. A co-star would be happy because I couldn't see myself having a bigger career because there was no path for trans masculine people. I was boxing myself, or all the auditions I got were only one thing. So just on a personal level, this has been really a great reminder for me of remembering we don't need to minimize ourselves because society has told us to do it and the industry doesn't have space for us because we can make that space and we're going to keep blowing it open. And not to jump around topics, but I love that we ended up hearing about how you're manifesting these cop firefighter roles because that was something that really struck out to me about your career is that you've mostly played these cop firefighter roles, which is one just I think an extra level of incredible because that's what you manifested. But something I find so interesting too is that those are traditionally hyper masculine roles, and they're roles of authority and roles that are well, at least firefighters now that are respected by society. And to have a black trans man playing those roles, I'm just curious. Do you like what was that like, and do you feel like that has had an impact on representation? Like, how do you think you being a black trans man in that type of role is reading to cis audiences that impact. I jumped around, so this is a little bit of a word salad. But like, what does it mean as a trans masculine actor to get to inhibit these characters and bring those characters to life?
Well, I think it kind of goes back to what you were sharing about your own inner like curiosity about like, what's my type, what do you know? And I had to do the same homework. I think all artists have to ask that question in one way or another. And it came down to like, well, what is interesting to me? What is calling to me? What has always, you know, pulled at my attention? What are the characters that I'm like, really that interested in that I'm like, I would really want to step into those shoes? And what I think I like about first responders is that they're just regular people in ordinary circumstances, in extraordinary circumstances, where they have to make these decisions that sort of go against our natural impulse, or like that are fulfilling a natural impulse that society tells you to, tamp down. Where it's like something crazy happens, something blows up, and these are people that go towards it. You know what I mean? I'm like, what is, I feel that pull within myself. I've always been that kind of person to want to help or to want to step up or to want to see what I am capable of. And I feel like a lot of first responder roles, at least the ones that I have liked, have explored characters who do that. And for me, I think that's been my biggest understanding of what masculinity is in general, what masculine energy is. It's active. Again, like I said, whatever the direction is, whatever goes on, you take a step, take action towards something. So that's what's really appealed to me. It's not necessarily the societal construct of man's man. It's action oriented people. It's people who, with all that's going on within them, whether they're terrified, whether they're unsure, whether they don't know what's going on, they still take action, towards something to help someone else, to help themselves, or whatnot. Or, they're in conflict about that, where they want to take a step and they want to do something, but all their conditioning, they bump up against it. And so all this interesting stuff happens, when you have a character whose, instinct is bumping up against their role as an authoritarian in person or whatever. So that internal sort of working of first responders was what really like called me to it, and just being able to be in extraordinary circumstances. Like, I want to get, shot at. I want shit to get blown up. I want to jump off of things. I want the action. I'm kind of think I'm action junkie. So it's like that's the kind of characters I want to play, where they're like getting in the shit. You know. So I think that's what drew me to it, and I think there is an impact of it because people are, I think, putting the projecting the same sort of idea that, these are the hyper masculine, the manliest men, in the societal way. The stoic, unemotional, uh, no, high pain tolerance, like, don't wince kind of people, who are doing all these like manly heroic things. And so for me to be in there, it's showing that like any all of us sort of possess masculine energy, and we can either lean into it or we can lean away from it. We can wield it, we can sit in it, we can, put it
Mm,
out in a way that is healthy and balanced, or you can put it out in a way that's toxic, like, again, there's this thing that's just pure energetic masculine and feminine energies and like forces that we all possess and manifest in the universe. And then there's like the societal things that we put on top of that, that don't necessarily align with what's true and what's real. And so to be a person who is by society's like standards not supposed to be standing in that fullness of masculine energy, like, I kinda like that. Like, I think that's something that I enjoy because I feel like it frees other people to embrace doing the same. Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to be so limited in, what you think masculine and feminine are, you know what I mean? You can be and do and lean into whatever is truly within you.
Well said, Brian. I had so many questions as you were speaking too around like you've been so blessed though to get roles that are very in alignment with because you are being specific. And I think that's a great takeaway again of saying be clear, specific, name what you want, don't shy away from it, write it down. I like making vision boards at the beginning of every year. And it's like that's a space where you can get very clear about like these are my goals. So anyways, I do love that takeaway.
Yeah. No, I love it. That was one of the jokes I made, but I wish it was true when I started testosterone that I could get the same audacity that cis men have because they think they're the best at it. Like they just walk into the room and they're like, I've never touched a computer, but I'll figure. I'm like, I wish I could be that audacious. And we can. It's a practice because we have to undo the social conditioning and being told like, no, you don't get to be that.
Do you think there was a shift around 2000, like I think what is it, like 2017 in the quantity of trans male roles, like with the turns and tides of the industry? And do you think that, or you feel two parts, authenticity opened more doors?
Let's see if I can take the first part of it. Yes, 100%. I feel like after, we saw what authentic trans representation can look like, I think in, Orange Is the New Black around 2013 with Laverne's role as a series regular, I think they did a really good job of trying to explore her as a whole person, and taking her input on what that looks like and how when they do explore her trans experience and her identity, the way in which they did that was such a door opening, uh way of exploration, right? And then there was more representation on the whole, right? And I think it went like more trans feminine representation, and then it's kind of swung to like, oh, well, now the door's open. There's a response to the audience in this, and I think there was just in society in general, there was more access to information, accurate information about trans experience, and a lot of the work that activists and educators have been doing for a long time had started to make its way into the culture and make its way into writing rooms and make its way into just the zeitgeist, that people were more open to like this kind of exploration and understanding, right? And they realized, oh, there's more people like this around than I thought. And their experience is not what we've been like spoon fed. I think Disclosure did a good job. That film that came out in 2020 that kind of explored like how trans people have been represented in media, up until that point, and you could see that there was a lot of just misinformation, that really shaped what people were thinking about us. And then because of like the digital age and the access to an information age, the access to all this information and self-produced content, self-produced, and articles that, journalistic articles, medical journal articles, and just people who can write for themselves, all this information is now available. So it's just like we're in a spot where it was like there was a space, there was a receptivity, I think, to authenticity that we didn't really see before. And then you had people who were prepared to do it. Like Laverne Cox is not only um, excellent like speaker, and self-represented, but she's a fantastic actress. So you put those two things together, and now she can really speak to what she's doing as a craftswoman, and then she can also speak to what's happening to for the culture and how to meet the moment, how to meet these journalists, how to call people out, call people in. So it was just like the ripening of this moment that opened the door for better representation across the board, more advocacy for better representation that was going to be like heard. Where before I felt like if you spoke up, they just replace you with somebody who's willing to do bad representation because we need work and there's not that many opportunities. So there was a shift. I think people saw the value in authentic characters and storylines that you hadn't walked before. It's a new take on the same old thing, right? And they realized, oh, there's value in this, right? And so we did see more trans feminine representation, which was great. And then I started to see more trans masculine representation. I think like Image at Lumber did Brothers, and so you saw like again this self-produced content that's showing lifestyle. So I'm like, I felt myself like I don't want to just do work that's based on like my own identity. Like I'm an actor, I'm a performer, but what can I bring to the culture, or what can I bring to work that no one else can? Like, what colors do I have in my, palette that other people don't, like my trans experience? And now there's better vehicles for it, and I want to be available. I want people to know that I'm available for that. So even if I'm not the one making it myself, which a lot of us were doing, it's like I want people to know that I'm available for that. So if they are writing that, like, I want to be a part of it. So around 2013 up into 2017, there definitely was a proliferation of more trans representation, not just trans representation, but it's like, oh, there's actually trans masculine people. Oh, okay, let's do that. That's something we never seen before. That'll get them. That's the new hot thing. And then, oh, there's gender non-conforming, non-binary. Okay, that's the new hot thing. We're gonna do it our way. So there was a hunger for it, and then that was happening in front of the camera, and then there was happening behind the camera, where they actually were bringing in more trans voices in the writing room or as consultants. They did have to kind of like put their foot down and say, "You're gonna pay me for this. You're gonna give me a writing credit for this." But you can tell that there was more of input from from within the community, as opposed to just people writing about what they think the community's experience was. So it made for richer roles for sure. So I do think that in the time in which I did Queen Sugar, which was 2017, there was more roles, and like solid roles, for trans masculine people. So it was great to see Scott Turner Schofield, to see Alex Blue Davis, to see Marquise Vilson in SBU. So it's just like you could see it. Um, so that was great. And then in terms of now, I think the second part of the question was there an impact? Is that what you asked?
Do you feel like authenticity opened more doors, which I feel like you kind of said.
Yeah, and I think thoughts of authenticity in a sense of like like your own authenticity.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like I think it was beneficial for all artists. I think all the storytelling got a little richer across the board. I think we had a real cultural moment where it was like, can we do more authentic casting? Like, for a lot of good reasons. One is the story is richer from people who don't have to research and conjure up, the experience of being a blind person, or the experience of being a trans person, or the experience of being, someone who is black. Like, when you live it, it's kind of at your baseline, and you can just sort of add to it. You can color more things with it, as opposed to, which is, again, it's beautiful to see an actor do that, to see someone find a way to make a connection and to deliver a great performance. But I don't want to take away from like a transformative acting experience. But what I think that moment was about was, in a time when there aren't that many leading roles for people who are not white, cis, heteronormative, or male, you know, let's not take those few opportunities and give them to other people. Like, that's what I feel like, and that's what that moment was about. And I think sometimes, like everything, the pendulum swings really far in one way and it swings really far back. I think there's still room and there's still space for actors to be able to not be of a particular experience, but still be able to bring something, to still be able to perform. There's value in that. Like, I think I played Stanley Kowalski in a reading
Oh,
of
Streetcar.
Streetcar Named
Yeah.
Desire. Right. And it was like there was some value to that, because I'm black and I'm a trans man. So even though I'm not Polish, there's some connection, there's some overlap there. So I don't think we need to completely say no cis actor should ever play trans ever, or no black person should ever play white ever, or no white person should ever play, a black role or whatever. But it's like, you just have to be mindful of the context in which this thing is happening, and especially like within the culture at large, the society at large. If people are at a disadvantage constantly, maybe you might think to yourself, maybe this isn't the time for me to take this role. Maybe this is the time for me to step aside and uplift somebody else. I mean, you've seen it happen with, Jessica Chastain and Octavia Spencer. Like, they'll make sure, people are making sure there's sometimes to step up, there's sometimes to elevate other people. Um, and there's sometimes for like, hey, this story needs to be told. And who's going to get this story to the audience? If it comes down to a purely showbiz decision about what the investors are going to give to just even get the story out, then it's like, okay, well, we need to have a conversation about it. How important is it for us to get this story out, period, to get it made, than it is to make sure that everybody in the role is exactly from the experience of the characters that were written. Is there other ways in which we can bring in this authenticity that will still get this project made? And I think those are the nuanced conversations we are having now. We should, be having now, not having like a complete overcorrection where it's like, forget it, we're going back to everybody's white and cis, and then I don't care. Like we can't. It doesn't need to be an overcorrection. There has to be nuance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's such a good point to bring up because I think that's something that people really don't understand is like everyone's like, what about equality? I'm like, no, we're talking about equity. We're talking about equity, which like trans people are more likely to be in the poverty line, disenfranchised. And then we're less likely to get cast because that major movie's like, oh, is this random country or state gonna actually buy tickets? So we won't choose you. So then it's a trans role, and you're like, okay, can we give a trans artist a meal? Can we get
Right,
them
right.
help their career and build
Very
it?
much like if the
And
trans actors were being seen for cis roles as often as and it's like, hey, whatever, man, But if they're
mm,
not even being seen for the cis roles,
yeah.
when the one or two trans roles come up, like you should see them. You should at the very least see them. They should be the first people that you see.
Yeah, and 100%. And something I did think was really interesting was the investor element you brought up, because I feel like as I've gotten a little like more savvy with the industry, I think my standard has shifted between movies and television. Because movies, like, I forget the name of it, but there's that like one, lesbian, like, oh, she has melancholia. We'll send her to the beach with Kate Winslet and Saoirse Ronan, and people were upset about it. I'm like, the only reason that movie got made was because Kate Winslet and Saoirse Ronan, which I hope I'm saying her name correctly, was in that movie. That's the only way.
Right,
But if I'm watching a TV
right,
show and this is a recurring role, zero reason not to like create the space for equity, because the more series regulars like you we have, someone can walk in the room and be like, this next Marvel movie, we have Brian Michael Smith. He's a name. He can bring in people, and like that's how we build up like that representation at like the higher level. Because the reality is like movies are struggling, right? People don't go to the theaters. Like it's a big risk to invest, and that's why we have 1,000 Marvel movies.
right. I mean, there. It's really movies are more and more and more as more corporations and more conglomerates sort of take the reins and just start using it as content and not necessarily as art or things that have a cultural significance. Like they can't quantify that. It's not an and they're numbers oriented, they're algorithm oriented. So they're going to do the least risky thing. They sometimes they catch lightning in a bottle when they allow some outlier to kind of make his thing, or they try to, jump on at the end of it after something has been made that comes from within, that comes from an artist, that comes from an authentic voice, that comes from an authentic original point of view. And then they go, oh, how can we capitalize on? How can we make our version of that? But that's what that is, and it's so 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 risky now. It's like it's hundreds of $1 million and billions of dollars. So it's like you have to kind of know that going in that it's not a merit based business in no way, shape, or form, right? Like, I don't know where that myth came from, where it's like the best actor gets this. No, sometimes the best actor's not even seen. So you can't really say the best actor got the job. It's kind of like the best
Yeah,
actor under these very specific, arbitrary criteria that gets it. You know what I'm saying? So that argument would drive me crazy where it's and I get it. And all things being equal, of course, the best actor would get the job, but all things are not equal, so we can't throw that out there as if that's ever going to be the case.
right. Yeah, and this I won't get on a tangent because this isn't about marketing, but I come from a marketing background, and I think what frustrates me and confuses the hell out of me with the industry is they still market like it's 2000. Like there aren't 1,000 movies, all these streaming platforms, and I was really struck by when the director, I think it was the Fall Guy that with Ryan Gosling and
Mhm,
Emily Blunt,
mhm.
it didn't do well in theaters, and his thing was like, "Well, I guess the Barbenheimer craze died." And I'm like, "No, it didn't do well because no one knew your movie existed. Barbenheimer did so well because Barbie's marketing budget was literally more than the budget for the movie."
Right.
And these studios are like, "We're just going to put all the pressure on the actor, the Brad Pitt, the Tom Cruise, the Charlize Therons, to bring in the audience when this is I'm not a studio executive, but I'm like, maybe if you actually put marketing into a movie that had somebody who didn't have the same accolades but had the identity or like the authenticity, maybe it would do a little bit better. That's my kind of take. It's a very archaic system, I think, when it comes to the way studios think people like, cause why am I gonna go pay like 20, $30 to go to the movies when there's like 500 things on Netflix and I had never heard of your thing
Right.
before,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, and they're, and it's interesting because they've been making the same mistakes, like, again, for years. Like I just went to a legacy talk with Lena Waithe and Vivica A. Fox, and it's like they did that to her, like so it doesn't even if you already are an established movie star, you'll still have these people who are far removed from the experience as which like I feel like the artists who make it understand the experience of the story and the experience of the film and then you have the audience who is looking for a certain experience. And then you have these people who are not connected to any of that, who are trying to make these mathematical decisions that it's not mathematical. It's the other side of the coin. It's like it's right brain, left brain. So you're never really going to be able to quantify, you're never going to be able to figure this out, especially if you're not tapping into what is the audience's experience right now? What do audience actually want, And you're not gonna know from a perch.
And speaking of like making things, I feel like you are someone that has also been very proactive in making your own work. I feel like I first learned about you and met you maybe, or we were at the same Outfest screening in 2019.
Mhm.
And we were in the same bracket of
Yes, yep.
films, and I just, like, was like, "Look at this person out here doing their thing and, like, really telling these stories that they like, that you wanted to tell." So I feel like you've been such somebody that's been on that role of still being an artist and a creator, a writer, director, all of these things, and I just would love to hear more about that journey for you.
I'd like to run, like, parallel tracks. Like, there's so much in this business that's just out of your control, right? And I think I had this epiphany kind of early on in those days where I realized, like, I was really frustrated. So I'm like, I'm doing everything in my power to like get the next gig, and like I'm trying, and I'm just hustling and like hungry, and like I just want the next thing, and like I'm doing everything. And then I was like, are you really doing everything in your power? Like, what do you really want? Is it just to act? Because you can act right now. Like, there's nothing. There's scripts available. There's scripts online. There's things that have been written. You can make a scene. There's cameras everywhere. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, oh, I guess okay. Hmm. All right, what do I really want? And it's like, well, I do want to perform, but I also want to make a career out of things. And I don't have any control over that of when I get booked for the next thing or who sees my work some of these people I just can't reach. And then if I do reach them, what am I saying to them? I need they're gonna, what do you want? What are you about? So they need to be making stuff that I'm not being seen to make yet. You know what I mean? So they're not going to consider me for this action hero role if I've never done any action hero things, right? And then I'm not going to be ready to even do the action hero role if I haven't practiced it yet. So why not just wed the two? So it's like I got the career stuff that's out of my control. I got an agent; they can submit me for stuff. I tell them what I want to do. I pay attention to the people who are making that kind of stuff, and I'll stay over here and do my practice and develop my art and develop my work. And those questions that we're asking ourselves, like, what do you want to do? Like sometimes I'm not going to know until I do something. So let me try to make something and see how I feel about it. It's like, oh, I love doing that. I want to do another kind of character like that in this way. Or I did this on the stage, but I really want to do it on screen. So it's like as an actor, as an artist, as a creative person, which we all are, you have to have some kind of practice to keep you going and growing, and not dependent upon all this shit that you don't have control over. Yes, it can bring you some income and whatnot, and yes, you got to know when to market, and there's the business side of things for sure, but the craft is continuous. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing that you have in your control. So even if I haven't booked anything for a long time, it's like I still feel good because I made this short film where I got to do something I've never done before with people I never worked with before, and I've created opportunities for other artists to make stuff. And now I feel really good because it's not just me who's like, I did a short, like a proof of concept in March, with a bunch of people that I worked on Lone Star with, and we're just like, yes, because we had just had a bunch of strikes, and it's like, I'll come do the makeup, I'll do the props, like they're like, let's do it because they're artists and they want to practice. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It doesn't mean you don't need a bunch of money. It's like, can we just get together and like make the thing? And now we all have a new thing to like use to market for our career. So it's like they kind of feed themselves. So you can spend a lot of time, and I'm saying this from experience because I've done it. You can spend a lot of time planning, trying to figure. I guess the better way, you spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to do the next thing, and I've learned that the answers come through action. So it's like you just have to take, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, action,
Yeah.
yes,
Which is what
yeah.
your which
hmm
is what your drawings do,
So it's
is
like
action,
I
right?
can
That's what you
I
are
have to like learn
doing.
when to
Yeah.
let like you have to receive, so you got to
Yeah.
like chill a little bit. I have to ask yourself the question: what is it that I want? I just wrapped something up and it felt really good. Now what's next? I don't know, and that's okay. You don't need to have all the
Yeah.
answers then. Okay, what do I want? You're asking, what is my type? And I'm like, well, not what's my type. Like, what kind of person do I want to play, or what part of myself do I want to explore right now? Or what kind of circumstance do I want to put myself in? And I know how I would react, but what if I was like a person who reacts complete opposite? Like, what if I was somebody who just raged all the time? I want to play a character who's like a powder keg. Okay, how can I make that happen? And then you chill for a second. It's like, okay, I've come up to think I want to play like a powder keg kind of character, and then you wait for enough of the time. Then you go, okay, I think I want it to be, or so you tell somebody else, and they're like, I'm trying to work on a short film. Okay, I want to play this character. It's like a powder keg guy. Do. Let's do it. I'm calling. Just the phone call to tell the other person is an action. They now want to do it. Now we have come up with an outline. And sometimes, like, I would get stuck in the whole like filmmaker process, right? Where I know I want to do, like, to take this example, I wanted to do an action movie, but I'm like, don't have any action of me doing like fights and gunplay and any of that kind of stuff in my reel. So it's like, and I haven't practiced that. Like, I can box, I've done these things, but I haven't actually done it for camera. Let me go work with someone who can help me do this for camera. And I saw that Juliana Joel, who's another fantastic trans actress, did this really great reel of her like doing stunts. So she's fighting. I'm like, yo, she looks great. And the way it was shot looked amazing. And it was just like in someone's backyard, and it was great. I'm like, okay, hold on, Juliana, where did you learn to do that? She's like, oh, I met with this guy, Daniel Cicero. He's amazing. Like, whatever. She gave me his contact information. I hit him up. I told him I wanted to do the same thing. He's like, come on, let's do it. And I had already been trying to write some scripts, and I kept stopping and stalling out because like it's not good. I'm not a good writer and all this kind of mental noise, and then the story just wasn't telling itself. But I got with him. We were just working on, like, he's trying to show me how to move and dodge a punch and do it. Okay, so then this guy is gonna come out of here and then he's gonna come Pam and you're gonna do this. And just like it was like magic, just like when you're 6 and you're just playing pretend with your friends, and all of a sudden they tell you like, okay, you're this guy, and like, yeah, I'm the bad guy, and the character just comes out. And like, okay, so yeah, so that house is like the house where the hostages. We got to get in it. It's like the story and this character just came from playing, and I was like, duh, that's how you do it and shit. So right, so I did this reel with him. I'm like, and because I took the action of like going instead of waiting for my agent to give me a call that they want me to do the
Yeah.
thing. I like made the phone call. I got with the guy. I developed a new skill. I discovered story. I discovered a new team. Like, here's a fight choreographer who also wants to direct, who has done some short films and wants to do more. He's got a great cinematographer and he's got 3 stunt guys. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come back. I gotta. Let me. I'm inspired. And I came with the story. And I was like, it doesn't have to be a big deal. I just want to do something from beginning to end. So I'm like, I'll do like a 5-minute microfilm, this action that lets me do this thing, whether it's use it just for this reel or just to do it. And so I wrote a script, and like it came out because it didn't have to be good. It just had to. I said I just need to make something that can share the idea with somebody else. So don't think about writing a screenplay. Don't think about writing a script. Just get the idea in a way in which I could share with other people. And it has a beginning and it has an end. And that mind trick helped me write this short film and write this script and like do it. And we shot it in March, and it's like, it's finished, and it came out really, really good. I really liked how it came out. I learned a lot. I brought these people together. We made something. We had fun, and now it's like I have a film that I produced and wrote and star in, doing action. That's going to film festivals now. It's like we got nominated for the Detroit Black Film Festival. We got nominated for Best Short Film, and it's just asking a question, being honest about the answer, taking one action. That's it.
Right? Because we have the tendency sometimes to get very overwhelmed by the bigger picture. And what you did kind of was removing a little bit of the pressure too, and like just getting again specific our word of the episode,
Yeah,
and like zeroing in a little bit and just
yeah,
saying, hey, this is what I'm focusing on, that's
right.
what I value, and that's what's important for this.
And be honest, again, like 'cause sometimes, you're like, you wanna be creative and you wanna make stuff and you're putting all this pressure on your art, like, "Why do I need this next job so that what is going on?" And it's like, it's not the job, it's not about the creativity. You want security, you feel really insecure right now, your money's not right. We're artists, like, sometimes money comes and goes, so it's like so I think I need to be honest with myself. Right now, security is more important to me than anything else. I'm gonna table this stuff that isn't gonna make money at any time soon and just work on the security that's calling for my attention and just do anything to make some money. Like before I came to New York, I was very much in that space where it's like I'm trying to piece together, enough money to like keep going. I want to try to go to California. I just and, like I'm like I need the next job. I need the next job. I need the next job. And da, 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 da. And I'm feeling this pressure. And it's like it's not that you need the next job. You need money. You
Mhm.
want money, and that's
Right.
okay. That's where
Yeah.
you're at right now. That's what your insides are telling you your priority is. You wanna make some money, but you don't wanna make money in a way that gets in the way of what you wanna do, but it's just you just want a consistent flow of income that's low threshold. I got sp that was very specific. I didn't exactly know what the job was, but it's like just a consistent flow of money, that low threshold that does not get in the way of me auditioning or doing my creative stuff. I said that. I wrote it, pretty much wrote it down. And then I got a friend was like, "Hey, I need somebody to help out. You've done improv before at Escape the Room. Basically, all you do is you tell the people, that you welcome them, you give them the spiel, and then you just sit there and you make sure that whatever." I was like, "Great." So, and like I'm in this job, and it could be, I could see it like how easy it is to allow the job that you're doing to, like, become your identity and, like, how jarring that can be for some people, or it's just like, I'm an actor and, like, I'm doing this job and, like, I'm working at this place and, like, but I'm really an actor, and it's like, the job doesn't define you. It's like, I know what I'm doing this job for, like, I'm doing this to make money. This is my security thing. You
Mm-mm.
don't have to have a job to be an actor. You just are, you know,
Right.
and you're always gonna be. So it's like, if I'm doing this thing to make money
Yeah.
so that I can have the bandwidth to do my acting. Cool. I'm not a escape the room worker. I am working at Escape the Room.
100%. A phrase that helped me, was surviving capitalism, where it's like, yeah, this is what we're doing because this is the world that we live in. We didn't have a say, and these are the things we have to do to survive and will eventually thrive. But I think that concept of pressure that Avi brought up and you were talking about is like it's such an important one. And I'm curious, um, as your career has grown, has there been more pressure or a different type of pressure? Because I mean, you were the first openly Black trans man on network television, the first on, the People's Sexiest list. I think you're one of the first AFL people to score like a touchdown or be on football in your state or like, right? That's a lot, and I feel like that can be a heavy weight. So I'm curious how you're also navigating that type of pressure.
I think I've been the first in various ways often. So I think I'm conditioned to it in a way. So it doesn't feel like pressure or an external pressure or even an internal pressure. Like I just like to do things I like to do. So I think that sort of helps me just kind of stay where I am. I don't deny the impact that it has, on my life or on other people. I know because I feel like it's been part of my calling to like help other people by just doing what I do to like free themselves, do what they want to do. So like that feels good, but it doesn't feel like anything that I have to uphold or maintain or like chase after. I grew up, in a town where it's predominantly white. So it's like I'm usually the first black, the only black person here, So like there's a conditioning. I think I'm used to it in a way that it doesn't feel like extraordinary. In that of being the first, So for me, I was just with the Lone Star, I was like, I just wanted that role. Like I just wanted that role,
Yeah.
and I just wanted the opportunity to do the thing that I wanted to do. So it was like, oh, that's awesome that I'm a first, but like I get to do the thing that I've wanted to do in such a way. So cool, let's go. And I feel prepared to do it because I've been the first in other ways, or somebody else has like already broke through in a different way. Like, I wasn't the first black trans person on TV. So it's like, I don't have that pressure on me. The door's already been open. Thank God I can stand on the shoulders of somebody else. So I think there's something that comes with that. I think I have an awareness again of like the impact. That's why I like to, yeah, I'll say yes to interviews and things like that. I'll talk about my trans experience. I'll talk about what this moment means, because I know how impactful that can be for other people. So I'm open to that, and that kind of what feels like my responsibility. But I like to keep a balance between talking about who I am as a person and who I am as a figure, and my work. I like to let the work speak for a lot of the things. I like to spend more time speaking about my work, which is why I'm oftentimes looking to challenge myself as an artist, to find roles that really push me and pull me and allow me to really investigate these life kind of lessons, these things I'm learning about life, and then I want to like share about life through the work.
I love that, and I think that's really, really great for, hopefully the young trans masks, who are listening to this to remember that because I feel like right now in particular, society is making our trans identity, like, huge, like,
And
monument
political.
and political. It's like the forefront of everything, but it's also important to remember that you're a person and you wanna do something, and that's what your focus is, creating the life you want and finding that joy and
Yeah,
happiness, and I love that rather than letting, like, the pressure get to you or the idea of, like, "Well, no one's done it before, can I do it?" You're just like, "Well, this is what I wanna do, and I'm gonna do everything I can to make it come true."
again, it goes back to like it's the only thing you have control over, right? It's
Yeah.
the only thing you have control over, and then the only thing that really impacts you, right? There's so much stuff that's going on in the conversations and online and the this and the that and the that. And then it's like, but actually right now in this moment, nothing's happening to you.
Yeah.
You're okay. And then we can really forget that. So that's why it's always good to like, again, like come back to like what's actually going on. Yes, somebody somewhere is saying something in the courthouse and the this, that, and the third. And there's probably going to be a time in which I need to do something. What action am I going to take about this thing? What do I want to do about this thing? And you do it, and you do it. You know what I mean? And that thing could be like, I'm going to have a difficult conversation with my dad, or I mean, I'm going to call my representative to say, don't let them do this, or I'm going to join the human rights campaign and contribute to this bigger thing. I'm going to go out and march, or I'm going to write this story about this person. I'm going to put this post. Whatever the action is, you're going to take it. And then you take the action, you realize like, all right, I put some energy out into the world against this stuff that's happening, and that's what I can control. And you let it like like vibe out. But if we don't allow ourselves, like I guess I call it like tending to your own garden.
We were at a mind meld because I was thinking like planting your seeds and then
You already
like,
have. It's like you
yeah,
spend all the work that you've done to acquire the seeds, and then you
yeah,
plant the seeds, and you've been watering the seeds, and like they're sprouting. There's things that you 7 years ago planted that is like sprouting and in full bloom in your life right now, and you're not paying attention to it.
right.
Because you're focused on all this other stuff that you ain't got no control over. But if you just like hang out, you're like, oh, remember that dream I had? I actually have all that stuff. I actually have the partner that I really wanted. I got the cat. I had the dog that I really wanted. I'm in the town that I really wanted to be in. I broke up with that horrible person. I'm free. I'm actually really free right now. I can go get my hormones
Yeah.
right now.
Mm.
Right? Like I have the beard that I wanted, that I wish for, whatever. You have all these wonderful things that you planted are around you in your garden. All the like, and we just forget to just sit down for a second, just look around, like, oh shit, yeah. And from there, you can try to figure out what I want to do next. Do I want to take some of these awesome things to the market, and like exchange with people? Do I want to invite somebody to come in and enjoy it with me,
Aw.
or do I need to expand it? You know what I'm saying? Like, or is there a storm on the horizon that I need to prepare for? It's
Mm.
not here yet, but but that's where you can operate from. But if you try to take on
Yeah.
all the shit that's not nothing to do with you, like, A, you're gonna overlook all the wonderful things that are happening for you right
Yes,
now, and
right.
then there's nothing you can do about it.
Correct.
Nothing you can do about it,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think just for context for listeners, I think what's really such a powerful reminder, especially coming from you, is you are on the board for the Human Rights Campaign. So I think you are doing the work. And so I think that's something that people who are listening need to remember that like you can be boots on the ground in it, but you have to take care of yourself. This is a marathon. And while like you said, doing everything in our power, but like we gotta we're here. I hope I would like to think trans people, whole people know this because we had to make the choice of like, I'm gonna live my life for me and not for other people. And that was actually, it's funny for work. I got like, what's your best piece of advice you ever got? And I'm like, I'm not gonna make it about copywriting. It's my day job, which I'm very grateful for. It's very flexible. It allows me to do things like this. Uh, but it was actually from my dad when I came out, and he was like, "You're not living your life for other people. You need to find the happiness for yourself." And I think that's the best piece of advice, like, I've ever gotten. It's just yeah, as long as you're not hurting anybody, obviously, and you're not bringing, negativity, badness to other people in the world, you gotta live your life for you. And I think, like, with that in mind, I know we kinda touched on it a little bit earlier with, like, more transmasculine roles coming up, but, looking to the future of the industry, because obviously it's been a little bleak, double strikes, LA fires, but things are starting to, like, cook up a little bit, like, the tax incentive, people are drinking it up. And also, like, the indie scene seems to be rising, but I'm just curious, is there anything like, what do you think the future of transmasculine representation is gonna be? Is there anything you're excited about that's, like, that you feel like the industry is moving towards?
It's interesting because I don't feel necessarily like the sense I have is like the industry is moving towards something, but it's like the artists are moving towards something in
There
a
you
really
go.
interesting way. It's coming from the people. I've just hung out with Silas Howard and Amos Mack and where everybody's like making their own stuff right now. They're like still, we're paying attention to what's going on in the industry. We want to be involved in things that, you know, have I want to say structure to reach large audience or structure to bring in a decent amount of money. But a lot of us are like, what do we want to make for us, by us, and get out to our own people, our own streams distribution. So it's almost that like spirit of independence again, because it's just like, oh, this system is unreliable
Mhm.
and it's unstable, and it always has been. It ebbs and it flows. Like that's been the lay of the land. There's been strikes before. There's been disasters in this town before. There's been, the digital revolution that upended. So there's always going to be some upending. There's always going to be something. But as long as like humans crave human storytelling, like we're always going to have something to do. And then as long as we have our own experiences to pull from, which we're going to have plenty to do, like there's always going to be something to be made. And then there's so many of us now who have experience and who have tools and who have talent and who have like networks. We don't really need to be dependent upon things. So I just think it's going to be a lot more um grassroots, for us, by us, to us, productions that, I think the conglomerates are gonna be like, hey, what you guys got going on over there? Can we give you some money to distribute it? You sure can. We're gonna
Yeah.
license it to you too. We get it back
Yeah.
after 3 years. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think that's where we're headed for sure.
I like that. I like that. Are there
Mhm.
any like genres, roles, or stories you'd love to take on that like audiences might not expect?
They haven't seen me do much comedy. I have a big, strong, like, comedy background.
Love
So,
that.
like, I'm interested in doing some more, comedy. I do like live theater, so I wanna do another play, like, soon. But I'm really in my action-oriented,
Yeah.
like, era. I had a really good time making that, short film, Who Are You? And so I wanna continue to make, just lots of action until I get the story, the larger story to coalesce. So I'm, like,
Mhm.
taking action until it reveals itself, I think.
I love that. I will say one of my favorite genres is the action comedy.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
So,
I mean,
yeah, I mean, you guys do both.
Oh,
yes.
I love that. We'll be waiting for that. We're looking forward to that. I'm gonna close out just with one last question. It was so interesting. I did like a meet and greet one time, and one of these sweet like young fans out of nowhere was like, "Can I ask you a question?" And it was like, "What's your happiest memory?" What a like beautiful, wholesome thing, and so random, but also I was like caught off guard. So I'm going to ask you. This can be recent, this can be trans related or not, but just something sweet that we can end on. Do you have anything that you hold near and dear to you as a happy memory?
Just have so many. I don't know. Just to pick from, My goodness. Let me
Uh,
see.
it can be
Yeah.
one of your tops, doesn't have to
Gosh.
be
I think honestly, like just hanging out with my dog the other day, like like he was like I was working at my laptop and he kept bringing me toys. I looked around, there were like 6 or 7 toys, like all at my feet. And then like I look over and he's like,
Oh,
I said, "Oh, okay, I'll play with you." So we like went to the park and like ran around. He was being a little rascal, and I took him to Chipotle, and he just sat there
Oh,
looking like a little scamp. And then he fell asleep, and I was just like, "I'm just hanging
yes.
out with my little bud."
That's beautiful.
I love how honest that is. I was in a class once, and it happened to be an acting class, but someone like the teacher was like, "If you could be any place in the world right now besides here, where would it be?" And everyone's saying like Paris, this, that, and I'm like, I just want to be at home with my cat.
You look at that. Look at the odd look. You've cultivated a garden that you love, that you get to live in and go to like every day. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yes, I want to be in a house with my cats. Good job.
Wow, this was an incredible like conversation. Like, thank you so much again for joining. I feel inspired, just
Me
and then
too.
to bring this to other people. I'm really excited for this. But really quick before we sign off, where can people find you? Do you have any upcoming projects, or maybe your current action film that's coming around? Just anything you want to plug.
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram at _Brian Michael. That's where most of my stuff is. I'm got this short film that's kind of we're putting out to film festivals. Got into a couple, and we hope it keeps getting into more. Called "Who Are You?" about a guy who wakes up in a warehouse and is trying to figure out who he is before the people who seem to want to hurt him figured out first. Um, and then I did a film with Angelica Ross called Deep Dish Dimples. It's also a short film that was written by Nova Cypress Black trans mass person. That's been going around festivals as well. So just follow me on Instagram. You can get information about both those films, and hopefully there'll be more to come.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you both. I appreciate it.
In our next episode, we have a very spooky Halloween watch party. We're shifting into media mode with a deep dive into Wendell and Wild, the 2022 stop-motion film from Coraline director Henry Selick and produced by Jordan Peele. It features Raul, the first trans character in stop-motion animation. Be sure to watch before our next episode drops so you don't get spoilers. See you next time.